Gender Intelligence Pride 2020.
Hello, and welcome to Gender Intelligence's very first online Pride event 2020. We're bringing you a day of gender euphoria, trans talent, and celebration across communities through pride, passion, power, defiance, and youth. A big hello to everyone tuning in from gipride2020.com, from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever in the world you are. Welcome. My name is Saba. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. And I am a transgender, queer Muslim, proud trans youth worker, and public speaker and writer. I work as the head of youth service at Gender Intelligence, which we're abbreviating as GI today. I'm a writer on all things trans, brown, and hairy, lover of cats, and taking selfies from bad angles.
I am so happy to be here. I love that intro. Hi, my name is Shay. I'm a Black, queer, trans, non-binary person. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a creative, activist, speaker, aspiring youth worker. I'm also a GI young person, and I've also volunteered with GI on camp. I recently became part of Gender Intelligence activist network, Giants. GI just turned 12 this year in June. It's one of the biggest trans-led community organizations in the UK. They have around 28 trans people and a few great allies as well in total that work for gender intelligence. GI has a lot of political storms and leaders fighting for trans rights. And the Gender Recognition Act in particular, they have the Trust Me and BAB bodily autonomy for everybody campaigns.
Damn, yeah. Shay, I'm so happy to be doing this with you too. You look so dope in that blazer. I can't believe it.
You look good as well. What are you talking
about? I actually bought this blazer especially for the event. Yeah, it was pretty cheap to buy because I'm only buying one half of a suit, so you only see the top half anyway. So yeah, Gender Intelligence, we're actually running the biggest trans-only youth service in the world, we think. We've got regular monthly groups for so many different ages, for our 8 to 11-year-olds, 11 to 15-year-olds, 16 to 20-year-olds, 18 to 30-year-olds. We have a peer-led support space. We've got groups in London, Leeds, and Bristol. We run community Saturday events. We've got a Black trans non-binary group coming up, and our very first trans femme group starting up this September, which I couldn't be more excited about. We also do one-to-one support for young trans people with experience and wonderful trans youth workers. We run residentials every year, including epic camping trips and engaging arts programs and research projects centered around trans youth. And actually in 2018, GI made Trans Story, that's history but ours. We created Super Camp, where we took 150 trans and non-binary young people camping with about 20 trans non-binary youth workers and workshop leaders and facilitators. We stayed in an exclusive campsite for 5 days, and it was such a trans utopia for just that little bit of time. It was amazing. What else did we do, Shay?
Training for companies and organizations that want to raise trans awareness for their clients or just update their policies, consultancy for people to write their policies on trans issues, work in education, which I think is very important, and mentoring one-to-one with young people, support for educational professionals, workshops and assemblies for students, training for staff, and many, many more. There's also the support line service and community partnerships that GI do with organizations. There's a volunteering scheme, which I've been a part of, which is really, really great. Community development projects, which happens to be one of the Giants programs that's recently started. And the GI also ran a session on Pride Inside for the Amnesty platform that you can check out. They're also running a workshop this afternoon, so maybe you can check that out later. GI have this amazing house team of central support services and office management, making everything amazing.
That's right. Damn, we do so much, and you hopefully will be able to see some more of that today. And so we're bringing you this ultra celebration of baking, fitness, workshops for young people and all people. We've got a pride quiz, a DJ mix, an interview with Shay, and a very special guest I'm so excited about, the author Juna Roche. Today, as you know, we're doing all of our work online, remotely, tenderly, and this is a first for us, and I think it will be a first for many of our contributors too. So we just want to acknowledge that it's going to be a little bit awkward. We're going to have a technical difficulty at some point. Somebody will mute themselves and start talking, and we're just asking for your patience throughout the day.
As you can see, in terms of accessibility, we have the support of our BSL interpreters, British Sign Language. Thank you to Carl, right now, that you should be seeing on the screen, for providing live signing for us today. Carl will be with us and fabulous until 5 p.m. Unfortunately, we were not able to provide BSL interpretation for the Zoom rooms. However, the live stream will have subtitles and BSL by Max, and another interpreter who has worked with GI will make this event accessible. And also, we encourage you to take breaks. Screen times can be draining. It's a long day, so don't worry if you need to get up and get snacks, go to the toilet, do whatever you need to do. We are live streaming to Twitter, I think, and Facebook Live, where you can comment and show your support. We have some moderators on the comments, but do get involved if you see any nasty messages. Share love and flood any negative comments with cute emojis. We're only here to spread love and positivity for today.
Thank you, Shay. So are you ready? I'm going to tell you what we've got lined up for you this afternoon. We've got 4 workshops for you. You must register via Eventbrite to attend, and there's still time to sign up. Our registration is closing at 1 p.m. The links are on our socials and on gipride2020.com, so secure your place now. So we've got our first workshop, which is our special little cozy, cute space for our gender intelligence young people coming through today, just for chilling and having some downtime. Second workshop we've got is being run by Chrissy Hunter. It's a trans-only space where we're talking about how we can support our trans communities in prisons. Chrissy Hunter is our current chair of Trustees for GI, and she works in the charity sector on LGBTQ issues. She's a member of the Bent Bars Collective, who organise a pen pal project for LGBTQ people inside prison and outside. This Bent Bars project also advocate on prison issues, in particular to the relation to the varying special issues affecting our LGBTQ plus community in prison. She's got a strong commitment to community, equality, and maximising happiness. And you can find her at Chrissy H on Twitter.
Oh, that was lovely. The third workshop would be Giants, Gender Intelligence Activist Network. We're going to have a workshop on healthcare, sports, education. It's available for everyone, so not only trans people need to attend. It's a new volunteering opportunity open to trans, non-binary, and gender diverse people over the age of 18. I'm really happy to be part of it. Everyone's really friendly and wants the best to do for our community. It's a way to involve members in communities in the work that GI do that improves the lives of trans and gender diverse people. And it's all self-organized training, facilitation, everything. All the issues that we are speaking about, we're very passionate about, and we are ready to fight for.
Super, thank you, Shay. Our fourth workshop today, we've got a zine making session with Sufia, and this is for young people only. Sufia is a visual artist and design educator, and their work explores gender, race, and bodies through a DIY and therapeutically informed approach. They are a prolific zine maker and have made zines with GI in the past. And they've made zines about everything from trauma, joy, gender, sandwiches, nail arts, and ice cream. All the important things. So all young people are welcome to attend the zine workshop. Bring a pen, A4 paper, a pair of scissors, as well as any arts and craft supplies you want to bring. The more the better, so you can make a really jazzy zine. But you can also just take part with just a paper and a pen. And you're also free to just sit in the workshop and soak up all those good zine vibes.
If you can't make up your mind which workshop you want to go to, we've also got Shay Shay's Pride Quiz happening right here on the live stream. So you don't need to go anywhere this afternoon. We're bringing you fun, entertainment, plus an awesome mixtape by DJ Zam from Gal Pals. It's going to be a really, really good time, and I'm very, very excited for it. Our themes that we have today that I think Saba mentioned earlier is pride, power, defiance, passion, protest, and youth. I would say pride specifically means to me is freedom and community and being authentically myself, but also having others uplift me as well as uplifting people in my community as well. What does pride mean?
That's so lovely. Gosh, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think pride to me is really personal. It's political. It's about protest. It's about honoring our history, and just as you say, it's about everyone as well. It's about who's in my community and who's outside of that, and yeah, uplifting people too. I loved your answer. You really nailed it there. Yeah, Pride this year has been a bit different for you, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think it's been different for everyone because of the pandemic, COVID-19. A lot of people have been seeking online digital spaces to have Pride events or Zoom workshops or anything like that. And I've gotten most of my Pride events through online spaces, but it's been amazing. The digital spaces that have been made and forged out of necessity I think it's going to be a normal thing now. We're going to have digital spaces run alongside in-person spaces because I think it's more accessible personally, but also there's an easiness to it. I think it's really enjoyable, and you don't have to travel. You can stay inside. You don't have to go anywhere. That's definitely easier to do, and you can zip out if you want to. It's great. It's a great time.
Yeah, I'm also really keen to hear where people are joining us from. So if you are on Facebook and you wouldn't mind sharing, drop in the comments like where you're tuning in from, because as you say, it makes for a different, more inclusive and accessible Pride. I love what you said about online spaces are different, but it just shows how much we can really do when we need to come together. So I think we're just about ready to pop that oven on preheat and get those aprons on. We've got Baking with Jamie up next. Our morning right. Jamie is a trans man who works in digital communications by day and loves baking the rest of the time. He's also been an integral part of Gendered Intelligence and our team, having worked with us for a number of years. So honestly, we're really happy to see him again, especially with these chocolate chip cookies. So get those aprons on and we'll see you back around midday.
Hi everyone, happy GI Pride. Oh, is that working? I'm really happy to see you today and that you can join me. I know we can't be physically together, but it's great that we can come together online. And I'm not actually wearing an apron, but if you want to wear an apron, feel free, please do. So today, as Seba mentioned, we're going to do a bit of baking. I think it's nice, to do something like this just to relax, to kind of center ourselves. And that's the reason I like cooking, because I feel like it really de-stresses me when I need a moment to myself. And it's also nice and creative. But today we are making chocolate chip cookies, or chocolate chunk cookies. And I made some yesterday, just as a test run. So this is kind of what they're going to look like if we follow today's recipe. As Saba said, if you're at Super Camp, sorry, Saba didn't say this, but if you're at Super Camp, the last amazing Super Camp, I was also there in the kitchen, and I love cooking, and I hope that this is an easy recipe. It's probably only takes literally 15 minutes if you're quick, and it's easier than going to the shop, so why not give it a go? I'm just going to run through the equipment you need to bake. And I think actually to start, it'd be good if we did preheat our ovens. So I'm going to do that to mine. So I've got a gas oven. It's going to go on gas mark 5. But if you have a fan oven, you could do it to 180, and then a regular other convection oven, 190. So I'm going to do that now, because that's quite important. Sorry. Okay. So as I said, I'll just let you know the equipment that you need to make these cookies. I don't know if you're going to join in now and bake, or if you're going to write this down. Whichever, it's all good. So to start with, I've got a regular baking sheet, and I put on some greaseproof paper to stop the cookies from sticking. And if you don't have greaseproof paper, you could just put a bit of butter or oil on there, and that hopefully stop it sticking. I mean, I've made biscuits a lot when they have totally just stuck to the baking sheet, and it might happen, in which case you just get a spatula and sort of get it off, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. How bad could it be? Okay, so we've got a baking sheet. We also have a big mixing bowl and a wooden spoon. Like, if you find it hard to mix by hand, you can definitely use like an electric hand mixer or one of those big stand mixers. But if you don't have either of those, just use a bowl and a wooden spoon. It really works. I've also got a smaller bowl for the dry ingredients and a bowl for cracking an egg. You would also need, I've got a chopping board to chop the chocolate, and a knife. And that's basically what you'll need. So for the ingredients, which is obviously the other vital component, so I've got here 150 grams of butter, and it is very soft right now. I don't know if you can see that. Basically, I did the classic thing of forgetting to take it out of the fridge, so I had sort of soften it in the microwave. So if you have time, just leave it, out on the side, and it should become soft enough. But it's important to use soft butter, because if you use hard butter, you'll never mix it with the sugar well enough. It'll be really difficult. So I'm going to chop the chocolate first before I start mixing things together. So, I didn't go through the ingredients today. So I've got 200 grams of chocolate, which is it's one of those like big bars of chocolate. You could also use chocolate chips if you can find them. I couldn't find them, so it's easy just to cut up a bar of chocolate, I find. I have 200 grams of plain flour, which is in here. I'll show you. It just looks like flour. Just dropped a bit on my laptop. And we need 300 grams of sugar. So I've got 150 grams of light soft brown sugar, which gives you like a more caramelly taste, and just 150 grams of caster sugar, which is like white sugar. You could do 300 grams of just caster sugar or granulated sugar, that sort of white sugar that you get everywhere. You could, the other day I used caster sugar and demerara sugar because that's all I had, and it also worked. So, basically just use whatever you have and don't worry about it. Okay, I've got 2 eggs. Here's the eggs. I'm going to use 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. If you need 2. I've got the vanilla extract. Try and get extract because essence can be something that's a bit synthetic, but if you only got essence, it's also fine. And some sea salt. Just salt. You don't need sea salt. Some baking powder. I think that is all of the ingredients. Let me just check what time we're on. Okay, we've only used 5 minutes so far. Okay, so to start with, we're going to beat the butter and the sugar together. That is the base of the cookies. So I've got the butter in this bowl already, and it's soft, as you remember. I'm going to weigh out the sugar of the butter. So sometimes I'm using like one of these digital scales, which are generally very accurate. So, you can also use a regular scale. So it doesn't work very well, so I just got to press it about 5 times before it comes on. Okay, So I'm going to add, as I said, 150 grams of soft brown sugar. Do the same. See, if you have a bigger hole in your bag, it'll come out faster. Okay. Because it's very soft, it does tend to stick together a bit. So I'm just going to use this to help it along. And if you have any questions about any of this, what I'm doing, you want something repeated, just write a comment on any of the live streams that you're watching right now, and the team can pick it up. And I'll try and answer it. I should say, like, I'm not a professional baker, I'm just a home baker. So I might not know the answer to everything, and maybe other people who are watching will know the answer. Okay, so I've added the light brown sugar, and I'm now going to add 150 grams of the white sugar, caster sugar. It's a lot of sugar. It's basically more sugar and chocolate than flour, so you know it's going to be good though. Okay, so that's 300 grams of sugar in total. Okay, and before I mix that up, I'm going to go back to chopping the chocolate. So, as you see, I've just got this regular, this is basically just supermarket basic dark chocolate, but you could use any chocolate you really like, white chocolate, milk chocolate. You can, this is, very good value, but you can pay as much as you like for it, and it tastes different. Also, if you want chocolate that has a flavor in, like orange or almonds, why not try that? I think it's really good to experiment when you're baking at home, because you only have yourself, your friends and your family to please, so why not try new things? Okay, so when you're cutting, don't put your fingers anywhere near the knife. I'm going to cut like this. Just put my hand on top of the knife and cut along the ridges that are there between the squares. It's a bit easier if you're standing up. It's nice to sit down. Okay. So what I'm going to aim for is probably like cutting each little square in half, so it's like a big chunk. So it's obviously going to be bigger than a chocolate chip, but if you like a cookie that has like big pools of chocolate, this is the way to do it. Oh, sorry, we have a question from Facebook, which is how many grams of butter again? And it is 150 grams of butter. This is unsalted butter. Remember, it should be soft when you come to bake with it. So leave it out in the kitchen for a while, or you can just melt it on low in the microwave if you have one. If you do it in like 10 seconds bursts, just make sure it doesn't melt. I do that all the time because I always forget that I'm going to bake. So if you're like me and you're a bit disorganized, then that's your strategy. Okay, so I'm just, it takes a while. If you have someone really strong who likes doing useful things, you could ask them to cut up your chocolate for you. You should also add, if you want to put in some other ingredients, like, I don't know, dried fruit, cranberries, raisins, nuts, feel free. I think I would just add something extra. Okay, nearly there. Sorry if it's making the screen roll. Table's a bit wobbly. Okay. Right. So as you can see, because you hand chopped it, we've ended up with some pretty big chunks and some like tiny little shards. which is fine. They'll just melt down. Be fine. Don't worry about anything basically. Okay, so the next stage is beating together the butter and the sugar. So this, because we've got a lot of sugar in here, so it can be quite hard to beat together. So just give it a few minutes. So because we're not making a cake now, we're making cookies. We're not looking for like a really hairy texture. We just want to like bring these together. So you're just looking for them to be combined and slightly, I wouldn't say creamy, but smoothish. I'm going to show you what I've got. I'm going to keep going. So if you can see that texture, it's like a tiny bit sandy because of the sugar, but it's sort of come together better than it was before. Oh, we've had another question. How many grams of butter? So just to remind you, it's 150 grams of butter. Oh, I'm also seeing at the bottom of the screen, there's a donate button. So if you're able to, you'd like to support an amazing trans organisation that supports trans youth, then please donate whatever you can afford. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with that texture. It's definitely soft now. It's come together. And the next stage is adding the egg. So before we add the egg, we're going to crack one egg to separate it. Sorry, it's not that way. So the easiest way to crack an egg, well, to separate an egg, sorry, I think, is just crack it and just let the excess kind of drain into the bowl that you've got. Yeah, do get the bowl ready for this. And then just pour the yolk, like catch it between your fingers, and then let the excess egg white just kind of run through like that. Because you can do it when you pass it from shell to shell to get rid of the egg white, but you can risk like tearing the egg yolk, and that's a bit messy. So, okay, I'm going to add that to the butter and sugar mixture. Okay. By the way, you can save this egg white. You don't have to throw it away. You can save it for meringue. You can like add it to scrambled eggs if you eat eggs, and to another baking project. So you can put it in the fridge, or you can freeze it. It'll be fine for quite a long time. Okay. So I'm not going to get up to wash my hands. I'm just going to wipe them. But I would say at this point, after you've touched them away, just wash your hands to be on the safe side. I'm just going to use this cloth, but that's the good thing to do. Okay, so we've got one egg yolk in the mixture, and now we're going to just crack in a whole egg. That's pretty good. Great, and then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract that I mentioned earlier. Doesn't matter if you don't have this, cookies will still taste good. This just gives like a bit of an extra note. Oh, maybe I don't even have a whole teaspoon to add. I'm going to add half a teaspoon. Okay. So, to remind you, we've got the butter and sugar, which is mixed together. Now we've got an egg yolk, a whole egg, and a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And it's 150 grams of butter and 300 grams of sugar. In case you're joining now and you desperately want to make chocolate chip cookies, I don't blame you. Oh, I just noticed I have some eggshell in my butter, so I'm going to take that. That happens quite a lot. Okay, so I'm going to mix these together now. And as you can see, well, you can't see, but I'll show you. When you start to mix them, I don't know if you can see that. It looks pretty horrible. So it starts to curdle because you're adding liquid to a fat, and it looks a bit of a mess, really. But all you've got to do is beat it now. Not even so long, it's for like 30 seconds. And then it comes together into this nice smooth batter. So you sort of emulsified the fat and the sugar. Oh, can you see that? Sorry, I'm taking it the wrong way. So now it's nice and smooth. Great. So now we're going to look at the dry ingredients, which is the flour. So we've got 200 grams of plain flour, just regular flour. You can try other types of flour. Like I've seen some recipes where they use half rye flour, so 100 grams rye, or maybe you could even try a bit of wholemeal if you like, if that's what you have. Just to experiment a little bit and see what comes out. I think I can't tell you for certain what will happen, but I think it'll be great. Okay, so to this flour, I've got some baking powder here. I'm going to add, I've got 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And that's going to help the cookies first rise a little bit and then sink, which will make them a little bit kind of chewy, or will help with that sort of chewiness. I'm also going to add half a teaspoon of salt. Basically any salt you have. I'm not going to measure it, I'm just going to put it in my hand. If you like that sort of flavor of like salty and sweet together, you can put a bit more salt in, or you can sprinkle salt on the end. It's up to you. Okay, I'm just going to stir those dry ingredients together just so they get a bit incorporated. Okay. So now we have butter, sugar, and egg mixture, and this dry mixture of flour, baking powder, and salt. So salt just helps to give it an extra bit of flavour, even though it's a sweet dish. Okay, so now I'm just gonna pour the flour into the wet ingredients, the butter and sugar and eggs, in 2 parts. So I'm gonna put half in, I'm gonna stir it till you can't see the flour anymore, and then I'm gonna do that again. Okay. So just kind of make sure you're incorporating all the flour. You don't want to leave any like pockets of flour behind because that's not very pleasant. Eat it. So it's quite easy to stir on the first batch of flour. I don't know about you, it's getting a bit warm in my kitchen now with the oven on in the summer. But yeah, I'm just making sure I get every bit of flour in there. And then I'm going to do it again with the second half of the flour and the dry mixture. So this is where it gets a bit harder to combine. So just be patient, keep stirring slowly. You don't have to do it really hard, because that's pretty hard to do because it's quite thick now. Okay, so I've mixed that up, and right now it looks sort of like a very thick cake batter. I'd say that you can sort of drop it from a spoon. It's that sort of consistency, but it's very thick. Okay. So now we have our cookie batter basically, and all we have to do is add the chocolate and combine it into the mixture. So this is the part that it's probably the hardest in terms of stirring, because chocolate is right now is in really big chunks and you have to put a bit of work in to distribute it. But let's have a go. So it's 200 grams of chocolate, to remind you. Okay, let's go in. I'd like to say that I'm a really tidy baker, but I'll be lying. I'm just extremely messy, which is fine as long as you wash up afterwards. So, okay. Okay, so I'm now going to try and combine. It's going to work. It's going to work. The chocolate. I've actually left some enormous chunks. So, you know, I would say cut them down to like half of a square to incorporate them the easiest. I think this is like some squares. Anyway, so I'm just going to stir it until it's combined. If you're watching and you have any suggestions about things to bake or like links to good recipes for everyone, also because this obviously isn't vegan, if you have some suggestions for vegan versions, please share with everyone. I can have a look at that. But you could use gluten-free flour in this. That would be all right. So now we have the mixture. Everything's mixed in together. I'm going to show you that. So you can see that the chocolate, the important thing is just that the chocolate is like evenly distributed in the batter. And that means every cookie will hopefully get some chocolate, which is what you want. Right. So I'm just going to swap some things around so I can look at the tray. So this mixture, so if you make cookies the same size that I made the other day, which is about 10 centimeters across, this mixture will actually make like 24 cookies, which is a lot of cookies. The other option is make bigger cookies, and obviously you'll get fewer. But I know some people really like sort of thicker, and those like giant cookies you can buy usually in the supermarket and buy. So if that's your preference, I'd say give it a go. So in my experience, to get this like 10 centimeter, so I'll just show you again what I made last time. That kind of size. Then we're going to use just over 1 tablespoon measure. So I'm using one of these like measuring spoons right now because it's a bit round on the top. And if you have something round you can scoop the dough out with, I think it will help to achieve this kind of circle shape. So if you have something like an ice cream scoop, or I was looking for things which could work. This is like one of those coffee measuring spoons, or one of these spoons. But if you don't, you just have a spoon, it also works fine. They might just be like slightly different shape. Great, so I think I'm gonna be a bit conservative and only put 6 on this tray. So it's quite a big tray. If you're gonna make, so you could take a bit of a risk, and if you're gonna make a bigger cookie, which is maybe 2 tablespoons, you could try 6 and it could spread. But if that doesn't bother you, then go for it. I mean, I kind of made some the other day with a slightly different recipe. I just ended up with like a tray of 1 giant cookie, which like could be quite good in a way. If you want to decorate that, it could be like a birthday cookie. Otherwise, stick to just over 1 tablespoon for like a small shape. Okay. So it is quite difficult to handle. It's not, because it's quite thick and soft. So just put a tablespoon. So I'm doing like a big tablespoon, a very generous tablespoon per cookie, like this. I'll show you in a minute what it looks like on the tray. Well, that's probably a bit big. Yes, remember, if you have any questions about this recipe, if you want me to repeat anything, just let us know in the comments. And that's no problem because we have some time. Okay. So I've made, actually I only fit 6 on it and 5 on here because they're quite big, if you can see that. So leave a good space between each one. I probably left like 5 centimeters because they're gonna spread. You don't want them to stick together unless you do want them to stick together, in which case it's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna put these in the oven now, and I'm gonna check on them after 10 minutes. Sometimes 10 minutes is enough, sometimes, depending on your oven. I mean, some ovens aren't really the temperature they say, so I think it's just best to check. Yeah, check after 10 minutes, see if they look cooked. So you're going for like a golden brownish colour. Basically, if they go more cooked or a bit more baked, they'll become a bit crunchier rather than soft in the middle. So if that's something you like, then remember, bake it more. If you don't want to avoid that, bake it less. Okay, I'm going to put this in the oven. Okay. So I should say, if you feel like you don't want to bake all of this cookie dough today, you can keep it in the freezer. The fridge, not the freezer, the fridge. If you cover it for 24 hours. And some people say that if you actually do that and let the dough rest, the cookies will be better the next day because you'll have a crispier edge and then a softer center. So you can look that up online. There's a lot of articles about that aspect of the slow, the cookie dough you've kept in the fridge for a long time, basically. Yeah, so now we've just got to wait 10 minutes. Let me just check the time so we don't go, okay? So if anyone has any questions about anything, then I'll be very happy to answer them. I don't know if you've ever tried baking, but I think this is a great recipe just to start with because it's kind of a little bit less risky than a cake. You don't have to rely on things rising. It's quite unlikely that it's going to stick to the pan. So I think if you're looking to start in baking, chocolate chip cookies are a good place to start. It's fine if there aren't any questions. I could just talk about baking all day, basically. I'm not sure how interesting it'll be. But I want to know if you're baking, like why you like baking, why you don't like baking. Do you think about baking in relation to gender? I know that like there's a lot of people who think that if you're, a masculine person or if you're a man, you shouldn't bake. But that is obviously changing because if you look at like Bake Off, there's so many more people of all backgrounds baking now, and it's just become like a big phenomenon. I think you should have the confidence. I think, people get this idea there's like a sort of type of people who can cook and this sort of person who doesn't know how to cook or can't bake, and actually anyone can do it if you follow the recipe. And I've had that. We've had some really nice comments about the baking, so thanks very much to everyone who has said nice things. It's really great. Oh, so someone on Facebook wants to know if I've had any baking disasters. The answer is yes, many. I feel like maybe less disasters, but more like something goes a little bit wrong almost every time. you bake, like something gets a little bit stuck to the tin, or the cake doesn't come out exactly the shape you expect. But I think if you're baking for your friends or your family, then they're not really thinking about getting some immaculate bakery cake. They just really appreciate something you've made yourself and you've made it with love. And it's really delicious to eat something homemade, and put your own flavour in and put your own twist on it. So don't be worried about failing, because most things are kind of rescuable. You can put a bit of jam on it or cream in it or icing to cover up any mistakes. And I do that all the time. So don't let that put you off. Just try it. So someone asked us, what is my favourite thing to bake? It's a good question. I do really like baking desserts, things like trifle, where you make different components, put it together. I think it's really good to start with simple cakes like Victoria Sponge. Like, I prefer things that are quite simple and rustic rather than like a lot of buttercream. But how about what you prefer to bake? Tell me what your favourite recipes are and why did you get into baking and what you like about it. I'd like to know. I can't ask you in person right now, but it'd be great if you could share any of your stories. I'm happy to hear everyone's baking disasters. I think we should, reclaim our baking disasters, because it happens to everyone. Exactly. Sometimes imperfection is the goal. Exactly. There's no such thing as perfection. Everything you're going to make is delicious. And if it gets a bit burnt, just say it's caramelized, or it's supposed to be like that. Oh, I've got another question. If I was a baked good, which would I be and why? I don't know. I think I'd be something a bit straightforward, like a rich tea. Though obviously not produced in a factory, because we're all different and unique. Someone said, we've got another comment. Someone said, someone learned how to make a mug cake during lockdown, and it's their new form of stress relief. That is great to hear, because mug cakes are so cool. Like, if you don't want to switch the oven on and you don't want to cook a whole cake, you just can make a cake like in a mug, and you can put so many different flavors in, chocolate, jams, fruits. They're so easy, and there's so many recipes online. Like, you can make with one egg, basically like 2 mug cakes. I totally recommend it if you want a cake in like 2 minutes. 2 minutes, that's amazing. So look up the mug cake. Someone's asked me, did I make a banana bread in lockdown? Banana bread was like the baked good of lockdown, and I didn't actually make a banana bread. I started lockdown with all these grand ambitions, and I baked for the first 2 weeks, like all the time, these like different biscuits, different fancy cakes, and then I just gave up because I couldn't keep it up. It was going on too long. Someone else asked me, did I make a sourdough starter? Okay, I did not make a sourdough starter because I don't have a good excuse. I just like buying bread that other people make. I'm not a great baker of bread. There's another question. Someone said the mug cake person has come back and said, my first attempt at mug cake overcooked terribly, and I think that I still ate it. I mean, how bad can it be, really? Can you burn a mug cake in a microwave? I don't even know. So, experiment with the mug cake. Yeah, they didn't want to waste the ingredients, which is fair enough. Do I have any baking pro tips? Yes, so one thing that has really helped me with baking is just getting one of these electric scales. I don't know if you saw it before. This is like £10. I think you can get a cheaper one. You can find it in a charity shop. And it's so accurate. And part of baking cakes is the importance of, the weights being right and having the right ratio. So if you can get something like this, I think it will really help you. It's really helped me just make sure that everything's accurate. I'm just going to check on the cookies for 1 second. Okay. I'm going to turn down the oven slightly because they're going a bit fast, but they look almost ready. And my other baking pro tip. My other pro tip is I think you've got to be careful with getting the same temperatures of your ingredients. So if you have, say for example, I heated up my butter in the microwave earlier, which I do a lot. So then your bowl gets a bit warm. If you put cold eggs into that, it can curdle your mixture. So when you add eggs to butter, it sort of curdles and then you can't get it back. I mean, so if you can, sometimes I put the eggs like in hot water for a minute and then use them, and it seems to reduce the curdling. Oh, there's another great comment about mug cakes. I made a mug cake once, and that was lovely all the way through until the bottom, and it was so burnt I burned my spoon. Oh, so you can burn a mug cake, is the lesson from this person on Facebook. I think it's not a reason not to try it. Just cook it for 2 minutes. I would say do 2 minutes or even a minute and a half on the highest setting on your microwave, then check it. Because you might lose a little bit of height and lightness, but it's probably worth it for not having a burnt mug cake. Also, if you're putting like chocolate in, try not to let it sink to the bottom of your cup, because I can see there might be a slight risk that the chocolate would burn above your cup. So that is my other tip. But do try mug cake. Mug cake is the winner of the day, apart from cookies. If you're not, you can bake cookies, but if you can't be bothered to bake them or you haven't got the ingredients, you don't switch the oven on, bake a mug cake. That's my beginner baking top tip. I'm just going to check the cookies again because I can smell like good smells coming from the oven. Okay, I think they are ready. I don't know where to put my oven glove. Okay, if you're going to take this out of the oven, use an oven glove or several tea towels because it's going to be very hot. And if you're young person, ask parent or carer or an old person to do it for you. Your kitchen is going to smell really good. That is the great thing about baking. So I'm going to take them out now. Okay. Sorry, that was pretty hot. Okay, I'm going to show you. I don't know where I've put the oven tray. So the one where I added like almost 2 teaspoons of batter has gone a bit haywire. So as you can see, they're all a little bit imperfect. But that is, I'm going to show you in a minute when they're slightly less. Yes, good point. If you're taking them out, use a dry oven glove, not a wet oven glove, because that is just going to spread the heat too quickly and it could be dangerous. So be careful. Okay, well, we're just going to wait for a moment for the cookies to cool a little bit on the tray. Then I'm going to transfer them to a cooling rack. But if you don't have a cooling rack, you can sort of put them on a chopping board or put them on a plate. I mean, if you're putting them on a plate, maybe put some baking paper underneath them again, because I did this the other day, and because of the melted chocolate, they kind of stuck to the plate. I'm just going to get a spatula. Sorry. Also, you need something like this to move the cookies. No. Yeah, so you need something flat like this to move the cookies if they're still a bit warm. Otherwise, if you use like a knife, they're just going to crumble and like fall apart. So don't do that. Use like a fish slice or spatula. Yes. Also, we should say thanks to Carl for interpreting today. BSL. It's really great to have you here, Carl. Thank you so much for making this session more accessible. Oh, take a bow. Very nice. Okay. So we had one question saying, what is a good first-time bake for a student? Okay, so so apart from cookies, which you don't need much equipment for, you need a couple of bowls and a baking tray, which I think is quite straightforward, and you make a lot of them, so they're quite good budget wise. I think another option could be cupcakes. Because cupcakes are generally a bit more forgiving than a whole cake. As long you do have to buy like a cupcake tray and some of those paper things to put them in. But if you can do that, you can cover them with icing. You can put any flavors you want, and it's not very demanding because you don't have like a big rise to achieve, and you don't have to take it out of a cake tin. You don't have to worry about baking paper. It's already like in its final form when you cook it. So I would say start with the basics. Though actually, if you want to bake something more like a dessert, I would say try, for example, like a crumble, because that is even more straightforward. You cook some fruit and make the crumble topping to go on, add that in the oven, and that is like a really nice and straightforward dessert sort of baking, and everyone will enjoy it. You can make vegan. You can make a sort of, if you want to use less butter and sugar, you can put more oats in. There's a lot of options and a lot of directions you can go in, because you don't need to stick to like the measurements so strictly, I would say. So yeah, try something like that. I'm hearing nice comments that everyone's saying they can smell the cookies, and I hope someone else is trying to make the cookies and we can all imagine together the nice smell. I wish I could share them with you. That would be really nice. But next time, next Pride, next year Pride, when we're in person, I'm just going to bring cookies to everyone. I'm really happy you could join us this morning. And remember that GI is really happy if you can afford to donate today, because it would really support their work with young trans people and non-binary people. And they, like all charities, we rely on donations from individuals. So whatever you can afford, they really appreciate it. Help us going in these really tricky times. Oh, we've got a mug cake pro tip from someone, I think maybe on Facebook or Twitter. So this is the pro tip. Add extra chocolate chips to the mug after you've cooked it. It gives you a melty chocolate top. Oh, that sounds really delicious. So you're going to have your your mug cake on the bottom, and then some nice sauce on the top. That's a great tip. Someone has obviously practiced a lot of mug cakes to get to that point, and I applaud that person. Okay, I'm going to put the cookies. So another point, a bit of a health and safety point. Don't put the cooked ingredients near the raw ingredients. Obviously, today I'm working in a small space, but you want to keep those things separate so you don't get raw egg on your cooked cookies. Okay. So I'm just going to put the raw stuff over here, so I can get over the other cookie. It's funny saying cooked cookies. Okay, so all that's left to do now. So here's the cookies of different sizes. This still look really nice. I'm just gonna slide the fish slice thing, spatula, and put them on the cooling tray. So the downside of this recipe is you're gonna have to cook a lot of batches to do them all. But as I suggested before, save some batter for tomorrow, and you can have a fresh batch today and a fresh batch tomorrow, and you can compare if they're different. Okay. Excellent. I'm going to put this hot thing down. So, great. So we've got those on the cooling tray, and you can leave them there until they're fully cooled, and then you can put them in you can just eat them, or put them in a Tupperware, and they'll be fine for a few days. So you can have cookies for days. Oh, I have a question. From Facebook, Jamie, what's your favourite kitchen utensil? My favourite kitchen utensil is a silicone spatula. If I've got one, I'm going to show you. Which is like this. And they're pretty cheap and they're so useful because if you're like getting mixture out of a bowl, it gets up like every drop of mixture because it's flexible, it's heat resistant. You can use them to like mix scrambled eggs or tofu scramble. You can use them for so many things. They're so useful. So yeah, I recommend it for baking, definitely. So we have our first batch of cookies. We have some great points about mug cakes. Do you have any more questions? Do you want any reminders of what was in the recipe today? I'm very happy to share. Don't worry for me. So I think these would also be really good if you put in like white chocolate and maybe cranberries, if you're looking for an alternative to dark chocolate. That would be a good combination. You could also add hazelnuts. That tastes great. With chopped walnuts. Especially if you use milk chocolate, like hazelnuts would work well. And don't worry, just use whatever chocolate you like because it's all going to be fine in the end. I found that milk chocolate doesn't melt as much as dark chocolate, but it still tastes delicious. Oh, so we've got another question. What would you bake if you wanted really to impress someone and show off your skills? I think it's a good... I don't know what to say to that. Let me think for a moment. So I think if you tried something a bit fancy, like profiteroles or a pastry that was like a bit out of the ordinary. So instead of like buying some chocolate eclairs from the shop, you could try and make your own. And it is quite a difficult technique. You need a piping bag, but it would look really nice if you kind of made a pyramid of profiteroles stuffed with like cream or custard, and then sort of poured chocolate over the top. That would be really great. I'd be impressed. I'm impressing myself. Also, if you can... Oh, apparently silicone spatula is very popular with Facebook followers. I agree. Yeah, if you want to make something that looks really impressive but isn't so hard, you could make, for example, a meringue or pavlova, where you like whip egg white and white sugar and maybe cream of tartar till it's sort of a stiff peak, and then you bake it. You put it in a sort of round circle shape on some greaseproof paper. You bake it, and then you put like whipped cream and fruit on top. And it's not so complicated, and you can cover a lot of mistakes in the meringue with the cream. But it looks so good, especially if you use different fruits. That would be my tip. I would say if you want to impress someone, they're already going to be impressed by home baking. So bake what you like. Just put love in it and try and make it look nice with a bit of decoration. Everyone's going to love it. Okay, so someone's asking, what is the most fancy thing that I have baked? I don't really know if I'm like a fancy baker. I'd say, I have made like birthday cakes before, which are like several layers high, and that always looks quite impressive. But I prefer things that are a bit more rustic, with like fruit and cream or pastry. So just, find your own style. Don't feel like you have to make a 5-layer buttercream cake. Fancy. Someone on Twitter saying, for a fancy thing to make, courtesan au chocolat. No more difficult than profiteroles, but make you feel really fancy. I don't know what that is. Can Twitter tell us more about what? So it looks like courtesan au chocolat. I don't know what that is, but it sounds French and fancy. French pastry is often like a little bit fancy because of the history of patisserie. And I'm quite hungry. I mean, I do have cookies to eat, but I want some profiteroles and fancy French things. So we have about 5 minutes left, so get your questions in right now. And remember to donate to GI if it's something you can do. Spread the love. Yeah, and remember anyone can bake. Like if you're maybe, so I had this when I transitioned, so I'm a trans guy, when I transitioned and I still like baking, people were like, should you bake? It's a bit feminine, it's a bit girly. And it's true that there's a great tradition of, you know, women baking, but you shouldn't feel pressured not to bake if you love baking because of your gender. Like anyone can bake, whatever the gender. You should do it, you know, and find a way that's easy for you. Don't put off by what anyone says, because you deserve to enjoy baking. You deserve to have that passion. So, haters gonna hate. And if they're not gonna get your cookies, you know, if they stop you from baking, they're not gonna get your cookies. So, it's their loss. You know what I mean?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
And back. Jamie, thank you so much for having us in your beautiful kitchen, might I add. We've had some comments about your gorgeous kitchen.
Oh, thank you.
I really feel like I could smell it as well. I know everyone was saying like, oh yeah, you could just smell the cookies coming out of the oven. I really want one of those cookies now. They looked really, yes.
I wish everyone could have a cookie. That would be lovely. But they know, everyone knows how to make them now, so hopefully they'll do that.
Yeah, your instructions were really great. I loved how simple you made it. Actually, I don't bake. I think I'm scared of it because of the whole you have to get everything really accurate. But you made it seem not so scary now, so maybe I'll give it a go. I didn't do banana bread during lockdown, sourdough bread. So what kind of queer am I, really? Sorry, Shay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, because during quarantine, a lot of people were making banana bread or sourdough bread or just bread. I did not do that. I can only bake gingerbread and usually only break it at Christmas time. So I was not in the queer baking, unfortunately. But no, yeah, it looked really good. It looked really fun, and I liked what you said about how that there's this gender stereotype that you have to bake if you're a woman, or if you're a man that you shouldn't be baking, which is absolute rubbish. You can bake whatever gender you are. And yeah, if someone doesn't want you to do that, then they're missing out on all the amazing, delicious stuff that you can make.
Exactly. And I think you shouldn't be restricted by other people's expectations. You know, if you have a passion, you should follow it. So I'd encourage everyone to do that if that's for them. Yes. And I hope this has helped them to have confidence today.
Yeah, I really think so. Oh, I never knew I would feel so affirmed from like watching someone bake cookies in the morning. This is so lovely.
I'm sure we'll go and bake anything, but we'll bake cookies later on during the day. Like I want to definitely go and try. I definitely want to bake chocolate chip cookies. Those are my favorite type of cookies. I think they're like the basic ones that anyone can try their hands out if they haven't baked before as well. So, oh yes.
It's just a case of mixing some things in the bowl, literally. So go for it.
You say that.
I tend not to measure things out as well, which I know is bad. I just do it by eye, if that's a thing. I just kind of guess and hope for the best, which I'm probably sure is not how you're supposed to do baking, but as long as they come out and they're edible, I think it's fine.
He's going to complain. They're going to be great.
Oh.
So I'm really happy to celebrate in a weird way. I'm such like a homebody. To be together but at home is like a really great type of pride for me that we could be together.
I really felt like we were in your kitchen as well.
I'm glad everyone feels welcome. Hopefully enjoyed it. Yeah. And we could share the recipe. Maybe we could share the recipe later on somewhere. Is that
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get
because I
the
know
recipe sent out.
we all love basic, but I feel like everyone has their own kind of spin on cookies anyway. Like some
Exactly.
people
You
make
can,
it thinner, fatter, more chocolate chip. Me personally, I love a lot of chocolate chips. I love chocolate, so I need like 8, maybe 10 in a cookie, which I know seems excessive, but it's what I need. I need as many as I can fit in there.
exactly.
Yes,
And then,
like chocolate chip every bite. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, these are like the flat sort of cookies. Some people like, there's so many recipes online, like I mentioned, like just try, I think it's about experimenting as well and just trying something, see if you like it. And not all recipes are good, but you can only find out if you try them. So.
I've just seen a comment come in from Facebook, Jamie. I'm just going to read it out for you. GI Pride is so beautiful. You can smell the cookies and feel the love through the screen. A safe, important, and wonderful space. Thank you. I really needed this today. Kiss, kiss. Oh, and really, Jamie, thank you so much for also just starting our whole Pride Day. You set such a lovely tone, and I can see that it's already had an impact on people watching.
Thank you, Sarah and Shay.
Yeah, definitely.
It was like chill, kind of friendly day, and hopefully it set people up for the rest of the day and all the amazing things that are going to go on.
Yeah. I mean, a bit of a change. Sorry, Shay, go on.
No, you can go, Saba.
Just thinking it's going to be a bit of a change in pace when we've got our Fitness with Maddie coming up next. Just want to when we're ready to go for that, but we're still here with each other. I'm really intrigued to know Shay, if you were a baked good, which would you be and why?
Oh my gosh. Funnily enough, I think I'd be a brownie. If it's not a chocolate chip cookie, it's a brownie. Mainly because brownie, when I think of a brownie, they're kind of like soft in the middle. Well, it's a good brownie for me, soft in the middle, and I feel like I'm kind of soft in the middle because I'm like sweet. So yeah, like a squidgy sweet center, but chocolate covered and like really tasty. So yeah, I'd have to be like a brownie or chocolate chip cookie. What would you be, Saba? I'm curious to know.
Nice. I think like right now today I'd be a party ring. I feel very party ring right now. They're so sugary though. I can't have more than like a few. I remember we brought them into our physical youth groups. We often have really healthy snacks, like don't worry, but every now and then we have a donut or a cookie or 10. And it was just a very high energy session that day. The sugar rush was pew. Yeah, our party rings are vegan too. Our backstage team have so that's really great, and they look good. So fun.
I can't believe I didn't remember brownies to mention for like something straightforward to bake. Brownies, what a classic that I've forgotten.
So what would you be, Jamie, if you were a baked good then?
I don't know. Give up some flour. I don't know. Have you ever had like a pineapple cake? One of those like Chinese.
Yes. Oh, that's so old school. Like an upside down pineapple cake with the pineapples on top. Oh, that's old school.
I really like those, so I'd say that.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I think we might be almost ready to invite Maddie into GI Pride. But before we do that, I think I just want to say a huge thank you to Jamie, really, and your cookies.
Thanks so much. It's great to do this.
Jamie, you've been amazing, brilliant. I think everyone wants the cookies now, and it's been so enticing to watch.
Great.
Yeah, so calming.
It's like an honour to take part in GI Pride, so I'm delighted.
I can't wait what you're going to bake for us next year.
Oh,
3,000.
yeah,
I heard you say something.
Stop planning.
I heard you say something about a 7-tier birthday cake, and you know. Yeah,
I
thank
did
you so
that.
much, Amy. Again.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks to Carl for the great interpreting today. That's so great.
Thank you,
Quite a
Carl.
job. Okay. Thank you.
Shay, it's alright to hand over to you to introduce Maddie, who's up next.
Awesome. Yes, really excited about this. We got next is Fitness with Maddie. Maddie is so energetic and upbeat and positive. It's going to be about a 30-minute class. Maddie is a qualified personal trainer. She's been leading the new GI Move Trans exercise classes, and she also volunteers with GI. Maddie says everyone has a right to feel special. They can achieve anything they want to. Exercise and fitness is a fantastic way to fulfill this. Exercise improves mental health, physical health, the immune system, and of course your fitness. Maddie will adapt exercise to different levels, so don't worry if you're a beginner. I am definitely a beginner. Or a pro. You will have the opportunity to meet your goal, and it's going to be great. I'm really excited for this. So let's go. Let's go. Let's have Maddie on. Let's start the fitness class.
Oh, am I on? Oh, okay. Perfect. Right, can everyone hear me? Yes, perfect. Okay, great stuff. Obviously, I have to go over the chat. I'm not great with technology, everyone, okay? Right, yeah, as my introduction said, you know, I'm a qualified personal trainer and fitness instructor. I'm also trans myself as well. So I went from male to female, and a lot of my transition also was a lot to do with exercise. So I used exercise to help with my transition, and it's definitely, of course, good for our mental health and things like that. I just want to ask the host just to check: is there anyone with any medical conditions that I do need to be particularly aware of that might affect their ability to exercise? If you just pop in the private chat just so I can see. Try and include some access option. Perfect. Okay, I will have different levels. So I will have a easy level for beginners, a medium level, and a hardcore level if you like to, yeah, go hardcore. So, you know, but we all have that energy. Okay. Hi, my name is Maddie, and I am you, the madness. Okay, so I hope we're ready to go. I'm going to put some music on, so just make sure you've got a nice space around you, enough to do some exercise. Just make sure you can see me on the camera. I will do demos of all of them, and we're going to do some full body stuff. So, yeah, let's get cracking. We're going to go in 10 seconds, okay? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. Music's on. Can everyone hear that? Can we hear the music, yeah? No? How about now? That's strange. Yes, you can hear the music. Yes, perfect. Okay, right, so let's go for a warm up, okay? So I just want you to start off by marching on the spot, okay? Just marching. Okay. Get those knees up as high as possible, but don't worry if you can't get them all the way up, okay? Do what you can do, okay? You really get those hips nice and warmed up there, okay? That's it. We are Team GI. We are exercising with pride this lovely afternoon, not morning. Okay, nice job. Now let's get those arms moving as well. Okay, so nice big circles. Try and get those shoulders right into your ears. Okay, that's it. That's it. And let's change direction. So just feel those shoulders warming up. Okay. Woo! Okay, you've got that energy feeling already. Let's get that up, okay? Let's really get going, okay? So now I want you to just switch to the side like this, okay? Get that nice rotation. Much as you can. Nice job. Okay, and then just shake that loose a little bit, okay? If you can, we're going to open the gate. Okay, so just copy the knee on the screen. Just bring those legs open and close, okay? Again, doesn't matter if you can't get too high, if you can only get to there, absolutely fine. If you're a bit more flexible, maybe you can get up here. That's going to be great too, okay? Okay, let's change direction. Nice, that's nice. So, next one. Let's go for a jog on the spot, like this. If you can't jog, again, a march will do, okay? But if you can jog, we'll go jogging now. That's it. Oh yes, feel those toes working. Feel those legs engaging. And if you can, sprint for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Okay. Nice. Hopefully we're all warmed up a bit, okay? Are we feeling warmed up? Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to get through some exercises. So we're going to do a bit of lower body first, okay? So what I want you to do is we're going to go for a little circuit, okay? So it's going to be easy to follow. We're going to go for a little squat, okay? Get your bum back. A nice little squat there. That's the best exercise. Just go as low as you can, okay? So if you can get all the way down here, go nice low, okay? And then if you just go shallow, just bring it shallow here. Okay, like this. That's your first option. Keep that back nice and straight. Your second option, okay? Second exercise, sorry. We're then going to do a squat down and bring your knee upwards. Down, bring your knee upwards. Okay? Your slightly easier option is to just march to the side like this, okay? Marching to the side. Or you can do full squat and then up here, okay? Third exercise, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to do a lunge, okay? So you can either come down here, okay? This is your standard option. Knees behind the toes, and just change them, okay? Your middle option, your easier option, you can grab onto a desk or a wall, okay? Just have one leg and just hold them. That's your easier option. Your hard option, but if you are hardcore, okay, you can go for some jump squat, okay? Really get that nice, bring it alternating legs. Right, who is ready? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put a timer on, okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to go for 30 seconds per exercise, and then have a 15-second break before the next exercise, okay? And that's going to be for those 4 rounds. 4 rounds of this, okay? So we're going to, I need to speak louder. Okay, I'm not very loud, guys, okay? So the first set is going to be the squats. The second set is going to be the marches. And the third set is going to be the lunges, okay? Right, here we go. So, in 3, 2, 1, off we go. So let's go for 30 seconds. Nice squats, okay? Use those back nice and straight. Get